Guys, I have admittedly redone this a few times and stopped within a minute and a half or so because I'm trying to convey a message, and ironically I have everything condensed onto this little paper, and I'm using this as a compass to stay on track and to condense some thoughts that I have collected over the course of a few of these videos. And I have figured out, or at least I think I have figured out, one of my little ruminations that I've been discussing in these videos. And I thought this could be helpful for someone with OCD or someone that's just curious about the way that works and looks for me. So before I get into it, I wanted to do that thing where like a show says the title, during an episode. So I guess this is an episode. And that way we can also like break this idea of this being parasocial, because you don't know me like that. Even if you're my friend, you don't know me like this. I don't know you because I'm a concept on here. So no matter how authentic I show up, this is somehow defying time and space, and I'm just here on your phone in your room while you're kicking back, maybe washing dishes, or trying to train your brain to slow down and be present, which is all I want people to take away from this. But also, as I bring up the name of this page again, it's a play on my first and last name, but also it's supposed to be the study of myself. And it's not for you to learn and take away things about me. Again, I'm trying to show up as authentically as possible. I mean, there's no trying. It's just me sitting, clicking a button, and presenting myself as the way I would if I recorded this just for myself, sparing some details. But I want people to feel this comfortable with being able to sit down and record a video if they were alone, and how that shouldn't be any different than posting this to the public. And so I've been asking myself why. Like, what is it about connection and why that looks so different for everyone? And this page and these little videos are meant to inspire people to be curious about themselves, because it is a lifelong pursuit to get to know yourself, to challenge yourself and ask yourself. There's no reason you should like the same things your entire life. You should figure it out, because you're going to be meeting different versions of you your whole lifespan. And every person you meet opens and unlocks a new part of yourself, and ideally your heart. And I've noticed that it tends to be the people that wear their hearts on their sleeves, and maybe I'm projecting here, these open books actually are more guarded than they let off to be. I have been thinking a lot about the term coward lately. I've alluded to it in a few videos and the ones I don't post. So I keep seeing this word pop up in my mind, and I kind of want to project, but then I reflect on how I'm acting. And I think sometimes you attract the energy that you are giving off or emitting, and I think I'm acting like a coward. So I thought I'd be vulnerable and talk about this more, because again, how much more can you expose yourself than talk about OCD, something that is out of my control? You can't control your thoughts to some extent. That's how OCD goes. But I can sit with it. I can acknowledge it, reflect, be a little kinder, also be direct. And I think that as I'm catching myself in this loop, there was a silver lining, because I was able to use this as an opportunity to learn more about myself. So this current rumination has been about being a coward, revolves around love and every friendship, romantic pursuit, you name it. I'm assessing, I'm studying. If you're a stranger or if you're someone I've talked to in a cafe before, chances are I'm reflecting on our interactions to some degree. So I have this, which is, like I said, a brief little chart that is a very condensed and consolidated version of my very private scroll of parchment paper. And that's lined up over here, and I like to roll it up, unroll it, whatever. So here's some of the thoughts that I've been going and adding to, and I figured I would talk about it. So now that we've done our 5-minute introduction of what this page is, how I hope to inspire you to be curious about yourself, and whatever else. Here we go. So in the center is connection, and we're going to put love over here and fear over here. So above connection, or connecting to, that bridge, is curiosity. And then it's what you do with that curiosity, or what you don't do, that prevents you from connection. So I'm going to get into both equally, but over here we have love. So there's presence and there's gratitude. I think all of them are in the same. I think in that is wholeness, fulfillment, God. And then on this side with fear, you have embarrassment and shame. And then we have to figure out what all of these have in common. I don't think that the opposite of love is hate. I think it's fear. I think that fear shows up in different masks. I think that something I've talked to a couple of people the last few days is that embarrassment is in, what is the quote? I want to make sure I'm quoting this correctly, but I guess I'll just, it's something along the lines of love. Sorry for the awkward space. I'm not pausing this. That love, nope. What? Embarrassment is an unexplored emotion. And we're so afraid of being embarrassed. So even if it's at the expense of, oh my gosh, guys, I'm sorry, I'm so tired. Even if it's at the expense of love, we don't want to experience it. We're so afraid to put ourselves out there because we associate that embarrassment with rejection. That's what the fear is. We're afraid of being rejected. We're afraid of feeling like we're not enough. We're afraid of, that embarrassment isn't really embarrassment if you're showing up authentically. So you're afraid that by showing up real as part of you, putting yourself out there in whatever way feels good, your body, your soul, your heart, whatever it is that you're exposing to someone and bearing, you are worried that that isn't enough for the other person. You're putting this person's thoughts on a pedestal. You're putting this person as a concept, even though they're an entirely whole being, sentient being, might I add, but you're putting them in this theoretical collection of thoughts because that's all we can reshape it into in our minds, okay? When you feel embarrassment, you have to stop and ask yourself, does this person fully know me, or do they only know part of me? And how much of that part of me do they actually know, or are they projecting onto me? How fair is that? How fair is that to be that bothered by someone else's opinion of you? And you should feel proud for being able to put yourself out there. There's something really brave and admirable, and you can't have love or anything worth it if you aren't putting yourself out there. So you are supposed to bare your soul. It doesn't mean it has to be with every single person that you meet. I tend to put myself out there socially quite a bit because I was a very socially anxious person. And if anyone who knew me in, like middle and high school knows, I went through like a quick period of becoming very social, but I was constantly anxious. I'd be anxious going to every class. In college, I decided to defy that and put myself out there. I was a commuter and I made a whole group of friends like the first week of school, specifically the first day. I remember approaching a bunch of people, trying to make that happen. And then we did, we became a group. And then I felt very shy as I started to get to know other people, and that's just part of life. And you ask yourself, which version of you do you like? And why aren't you able to show up as yourself around certain people? What is that invoking inside of you? What kind of response? And what can you learn about that version of you? I think that it's all worth figuring out. So I think about how I was very quiet around a certain group. I couldn't quite figure out why. I felt like I couldn't fully be myself. Maybe it's because I felt like it had been too much time where I'd already been shy that I didn't think I could step outside of that. And it's like I allowed people's hypothetical labels and branding of me box me in. I was afraid. And instead of being loved, I just wanted to be liked. And I think then we settle. You want to be liked. To be loved, you are going to be rejected. You're going to be rejected more often than when you're liked. You want people to like you. You don't want to have to put yourself out there. To be liked is just to be in a comfortable state. And that's the truth. And that's why I think the opposite of love is fear. Because you are so afraid of being a version of you that puts you out there. You're stepping out of a box. You're stepping out of a brand, a label, an aesthetic, an identity, whatever it is you want to call it. You don't want to cross that threshold. Labels and identities of some kind keep us safe. Then we call it a community. And they are. But then at some point, how much is it limiting your capacity to grow? How much is it challenging you? It's great to have that refuge. We all need to have like a safe outlet and a place to pour ourselves into. But I think that we need to handle everything with moderation, except for authenticity. And that's exactly where you need to be outpouring. You need to be recycling this energy back into yourself again and again, trying new things. Being a different version of yourself means getting to know new people. And then I think there's also I'm slurring. There is something, this is where I'm nervous. So here I go, doing exactly the thing that I'm talking about here. But the opposite of fear is love. And I think that we need to, I'm so flustered I can't even finish that sentence because I don't even know what I was going to say. That's crazy. And I'm not editing this, I'm keeping this in. But even like thinking about the idea of love, I'm lighting up and I'm beaming. And initially I wrote some notes today about talking yourself out of having a crush. And I think I do want to talk about that for a few minutes here before we get into the next part, because I think that a crush is a really special thing and we shouldn't subject it to just being a little middle school mentality. You can have crushes into adulthood. You can have crushes forever. And you can decide to define crushes whatever it means to you. I hadn't felt that in a long time. I always say like, oh yeah, I have a crush on everybody. Everybody inspires me. That's in my life. That's like a prerequisite. If I'm close to you, you have to inspire me in some way. And if you don't, it's something personal. I just don't know how much we're going to be for each other. I want to be around people that challenge me and push me to want to grow. And that help reveal parts of me that I wouldn't have known without this person and these experiences. It's about being around someone that you don't want to just chat with, you want to experience life with. And you're curious about them. And how often do you actually feel curious about somebody? How often do you ask someone, how are you good? Do you want them to actually not say good? And not for the sake of sharing that with somebody else, not to use that as a form of networking, but to actually confront that part of themselves, get to the bottom of it. How much are you willing to unlock those parts of somebody? And I was chatting with someone today before we get into the whole crush thing and then love, but I was chatting with someone today who's a really, really nice man, and I love his wife, and they're both so fantastic. We were talking about, not having a filter and talking or being too much. And I said, I don't agree with that, but I've been told that myself. And I said, you can't be too much. I think that people aren't enough, and that's not in a mean way. It's about pushing yourself and challenging yourself. How much do you push who you are? How much are you willing to push and inspire the people in your life in a way that feels good to them, not in a way to push them away or shame them? I think people mean well, but they tend to shame someone that they care about. Are you, and not just saying it, are you able to embody acceptance of someone for where they're at and to want to lead by example, to encourage them, to have the patience to sit with them and help them confront something inside of themselves? And now we've become so afraid of being that kind of support for people that now we're throwing out words like the capacity and whatever. And I'm saying that, and I'm someone who's been saying, oh, ask yourself, like, do people have the capacity? Because again, to some extent, you need to make sure you're taking care of you. You can't take on the whole world, no matter how much you want to. And I think sometimes with OCD, we almost have this like savior complex of like, I feel morally responsible. Maybe that's what this is. This could be this great grand social experiment. I don't know. But we feel like we are responsible for every little thing and being and every move. And I want to be mindful and considerate of that. And If I care about someone, I care so deeply. I am all or nothing. I am all in. And I don't know how to shut that off, and I don't want to. For a while, I shamed myself for that because I wasn't loving that part of myself because I felt like other people didn't. But the truth is, I don't want everyone to like me. I want some people to love me, and that's more than enough. And as long as I love me, that's more than enough. I don't need to be liked. I need to be kind. I need to be respectful. I need to give grace. I need to take care of me. Take care of the people that I choose that choose me. So I guess to go back, this whole thing about connection and crushes, and before we get to the final thought about love, is that with crushes, you might feel terrified. So you're teetering on this fine line between, do I tell them how I feel? Do I think they like me back? Am I reading into every little thing? Why do I like them so much? And so I sat down and journaled about that today. Nim is being so cute right now. I want to go pick her up, but I want to get to the point of this. But I journaled about having a crush and asking yourself these questions. So this can be an opportunity, if you have a crush right now, to ask yourself what it is that you actually like about them, and beyond their vessel, beyond what they look like. Because you might like someone, or are you going to love them? Are you liking them because of your ego? Do you think that they can help you network versus connect? Do you think that it feels obsessive and lustful, or does it feel expansive and warm and inviting and curious? Because I think that when you have a crush on someone from those lustful standpoints, or just being in general, it doesn't even have to be something about the physical body and that desire, but maybe wanting a social life that is tied to them, or wanting to be with them because it feels safer. You're putting yourself in a box. They might complement that box. They might keep you exactly where you're at. Your ego wants to stay exactly where it is. It wants to be comfortable. People don't want to have ego deaths, and when you finally are done having one, you have another one. It's how it goes. You're gonna have them till death does you part. So I think you have to ask yourself, do you want to like this person from your ego, or do you like this person for the pureness of it all, which leads to fulfillment and wholeness? And that's the irony, is you're not going to feel whole and complete because of another person. This person is meant to inspire you, and their curiosity, but also their self-love and their own wholeness should inspire and uplift you to want to do the same. To me, love is having that trust when you're not together. Having that trust that this person will actively choose you beyond all of the hormones and the soul connection and whatever, beyond all that. Someone that is actively willing to choose you, also choosing themselves, because choosing you should be easy. So you can ask yourself these questions about your crush. Do they make you like you beyond what you look like? Do you like who you are when you're with them? Do you like the traits that you embody? How would you feel if someone said that you're just like this person, that you remind them of them, or that you two make sense together? How would that make you feel? Do you feel curious about this person? Do you like what they do for you? Or do you like them truly as a person, unattached to you? Is this someone that you would really want to just figure out and appreciate and like just for the sake of liking them? Do you like them when you don't get anything in return? And then you have to ask yourself, how much are you showing up versus them? How fair is that? Because you should choose someone who chooses you. So I think it can be easy to talk yourself out of a crush, which is a good sign, because not everyone is meant for everyone. I think everyone deserves love. Love is a birthright, which is how we'll get into this next gateway here of finality. But we're not meant for everyone. And I think we forget how rare it is to truly connect with someone on every level. We also have lost the art of patience. I think we've given ourselves this illusion of intimacy. We've redefined it, actually. Maybe not even an illusion, but I do still think there's like an illusion to some extent with it. But we have now, when I say we, I do tend to talk about like collectively, you know. I think generalizations can be helpful to some degree. I want to try to stray away from that at some point, because I'm not pointing fingers. It's not even that I might know people like this. It's just what I feel collectively when I talk about these things. But I deactivated my Instagram and then activated it again. And then I wanted to post this so that I could let people know, because I think that there's this danger with the danger and potential for disappointment when you have some kind of presence on social media. You're showing up for your friends, but are you actually showing up for them? Your bits of connection look like sharing memes and cute videos that might make you think of them because of an animal or something they'd wear or a musician that they like or whatever. You are connecting with them. I think our brains aren't all there yet about having this technology in our lives, so we're catching up. But I think it's so messy when it comes to dating. And if you're looking for an opportunity to kind of fine-tune and like hone in on your relationships in your life, not just platonically but romantically, you want to be as intentional as possible with who you allow into your life, to your aura, who's allowed to have some of your energy, and people you want to pour your energy into. I think it is that serious. I think that the whole monitoring spirits thing is real, and if you're trying to reassess like relationships in your life, I think the most helpful thing to do is start by removing your social media and see who's willing to show up for you, because there's something so uncertain that has us teeter onto the fear side when it comes to sending a text, calling someone, FaceTiming them, sending them a picture personally instead of posting it on a story. Like, something about that feels so much more intimate, but we're putting so much weight onto this action because we're afraid of someone not wanting to give us the same energy back. We're afraid of exposing part of ourselves, and we're afraid to seem like we care too much or care more. And so that in itself is like cheapening the opportunity to truly connect with someone because of that embarrassment, that shame, that fear of being rejected. So then we miss out, and so do the right people when you don't actually show up. So I think that in order to experience the love that you want, you not only have to be that love, you have to truly believe that you are deserving of it. If you want a certain kind of love, you need to make sure that you are that love. You have to believe you are worthy of it, because you are, because it's a birthright, because you exist. And it's that simple. And again, we have complicated it so much. And so in order to have that, that means being present in the moment. That means loving yourself, to be present and immersed in whatever it is that you're involved in. And I think that's connected to freedom. And then outside of all of that, it's this gratitude. This is like the recipe for love. Being love, therefore finding it. When you're grateful for what you have, you can step out and go, wow, I feel like this. I'm going to honor I feel like this. I'm not going to hide these feelings, because then that just perpetuates this shame and guilt and embarrassment. So I'm going to let myself feel these feelings. And then I'm also going to get on with it. So I might feel super embarrassed. I might feel so nervous to send this text, but I'm just going to send it. Or I'm just going to say this thing. And maybe you want to tell someone something and you're not sure if they're going to pick up what you're putting down. Maybe you like someone, it's that crush. You're so afraid to tell them. You have to put yourself out there. Nothing good comes easy. The connection itself should be easy. If you think that you're both on the same wavelength, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, you name it, I think that has the potential for greatness. And then you have an opportunity to explore that connection more. And that's where the curiosity comes in. If you don't feel curious about this person, and they don't make you curious about yourself and parts of yourself that are being unearthed, and you're not really fascinated by this version that they bring out in you and how you are moving through the world differently. That's why they say like love gives you these like rose tinted glasses, because they kind of do for a little bit. I don't believe in like the reality, like you're in your own reality thing. I was talking to someone about that recently. Like, the reality is real because you are in it. And then if you meet the right person, this is what I shared with them, if you meet the right person, they match you in that reality, And that's how you move mountains. And I didn't say that part, but it's true. It's like that's how you overcome things, and that's how more greatness comes into your life, and you grow with someone because you find someone that connects with you in that same way. And sometimes we're so afraid of these connections and we resist it, and we're afraid because we don't want this ego death. We don't want the fear that comes with this risk. Maybe we're not ready. I think sometimes, having these connections means you have to sort of inconvenience yourself temporarily. And then you can ask yourself, all right, we're not meant to be comfortable all the time. It goes back to, we're not meant to be just liked. We're meant to be loved. You gravitate towards that. Be more intentional with the people you surround yourself by. Do they care, or are they just curious? That's something I say a lot. But it's not even true curiosity. Maybe they are only curious for the sake of talking about it with someone else. Those are not your people. It doesn't mean that they aren't good people. They just aren't the people for you, because you're not meant for everyone. You can continue being kind. That kindness is magnetic when you are coming from a real place of concern and love, and that you value everyone that you meet, and that you have that empathy for people, that you have, like, I don't know, it's Cancer season. I'm gonna talk about emotional things, but I feel so deeply concerned about everyone I meet, even the people that have annoyed me, people I've complained about, people that have hurt me or like wronged me or whatever. I still care. I still think about how brief all of this is, and we don't have that long at all to be on earth with each other, and people are afraid. And that's why love is so powerful, because it is opposite of this fear that we're constantly experiencing. We are so afraid of being rejected. And I think about even someone coming up to the register. I ask them, how good are you? Or, how good are you? Okay, I go, how are you? And instead of even saying good, they just go, small hot coffee. You are so afraid. You are so caught up and hung up in your own world. And maybe that's just a pattern. And you're okay with choosing that because you are afraid to connect. Because usually that connection comes back to yourself. You are afraid of you, which is why you're not choosing love. Because you're afraid to connect with you. You're afraid to take this time to sit down and ask yourself who you are, why you do the things you do. How can you reframe it? How can you choose to like you and then get sick of that and then choose to love you? And that was the whole point of this, is to just be grateful with who you are. Stop feeling embarrassed. Sometimes just accept and take the L so that you can move forward to the right L, which is love. And not everyone is going to be where you're at, and it just means that they're not your people, and that's okay. People are not lessons. They're not just an experience. They're someone that you connected with to some capacity, and the right people will help you when you feel present with them. When you feel that, those are the people you're meant to be around, because that's the closest that you can get to God, is feeling that presence with someone. So I'm like, in conclusion, whenever I say to people that my bunnies were a portal to God, and are, because that's always existing, God is always, I meant it. And I think that I have finally been able to close this loop so excitably, guys. Like, I feel like I'm beaming. I feel so inspired and excited about being able to put my finger on it. And then knowing I'm going to add to this probably in the next couple of days. And then weeks. Maybe come back and talk about this even more. I don't know. But I have said that to so many people about the bunnies being a portal to God. And then as I've been experiencing God and asking myself and God, like, what this relationship looks like, and I realized that God is in the present moment. God is always. God is in everything that I find beautiful and special and intimate. And so that means that God is in these interactions of love. God is love, because we are love. We are this creation. And I speak about this because I feel confident about this. And I was conceived through love on my parents' anniversary. And if you look at astrology, and we all have our own opinions on that, but I like to look at how, for my main 3 signs, my moon, my emotions are from my mom. The way I'm perceived and present is like my dad, their signs. I find that really fascinating. And yeah, so I think about that, I think about how there must be some intention behind that. Wanting to like figure this out, wanting to just like channel love, wanting to be there for people who feel wounded and don't know where to start or feel alone. Because as someone who's so comfortable with being alone, I think there's also nothing wrong with ending this on saying like, as much as I can speak about this, I still sometimes feel like a coward. And I'm posting these to be brave. I'm posting these to be authentic, to expose these vulnerabilities and to tell people that it's okay to want love. It's okay to not settle for it. It's okay if you have settled to just be liked and not loved. It's okay to be hurt by that and to feel embarrassed when you realize that you were not loved. And it's okay to be more curious or to care more or to be too much, because that is what ends up leading to love. And it is always about returning back to yourself. And that is what love is. It's about choosing you and choosing other people that choose you. So I hope that there has been some beautiful takeaway from this. I think to end this, if there's any journal entries that you guys want to write about, I think some things that would be worth writing about is, what is God to you? What do you think you do every single day to honor who you are? What could you do more of? What are some nice things you could say to yourself? What is it about your friends that uplift you? What does love look like in your friendships? What does love look like in the workplace, in your hobbies, and in your romantic pursuit? And what does your ideal love look like and why? And ask yourself, is it possessive? Is it patient? It's supposed to be freeing and liberating. And again, it is a choice. And I don't ever want to be someone's second choice. I don't ever want to be someone's maybe. I want to know that someone feels inspired and curious about me and not only accepts me, but wants to challenge me and grow with me and to make me love me. And to know that that's all I want for that person too. And to be excited and inspired by that. And to just want to be present and grateful. And that is it. So I'm going to go. I hope that this helped whoever needed to hear it. And yeah, and maybe I will share something in this book. So I had a couple of things in the beginning actually that might be helpful. You know what? I'm going to share one last thing. So I was talking with my friends tonight. We went out to eat, and my friend Araceli, which by the way, I didn't say your aura color, but we were talking about how had you not told me your colors, I would have guessed them. And then, you know, so I wish that you didn't tell me so that I could have felt it, but I do think that teal would make sense for you. And then we said our friend Kira is like a light yellow, light warm orange, and then Araceli said mine is a light blue. And this year I have really gravitated towards light blue, like a powder blue or like a Mother Mary blue. And my Poppy had a poetry book that you can't find online. I've looked for it, and if you can, send it to me. His name's Jack. But for the sake of my own privacy, I feel like I shouldn't share my whole name or family's names. But he published like hundreds and hundreds of copies and would just like disperse them everywhere, sell them at bookstores, whatever, just locally, as one of his side passions and projects and whatever. And it was just ahead of the Blue Jays and Don't Dream Straight. And I forget the name of the red book, but that one was yellow, then blue. Nobody remembers the red one, but I know it existed. So I guess I'm supposed to find out. We'll see. And I've been told I need more red in my life, so that's kind of interesting. I'm going to look for this book at my Gannies and see what we can find. But she doesn't remember Jack writing a red one, so I don't know why it would be published in a different color. But anyway, blue. I gravitate towards it every time, everywhere. And I associate that with Mother Mary. So I'm going to read you a couple quotes in this to end. This is not about Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, but there's a quote, "I will teach you about what is hidden from you." I think that is beautiful. That should be the point. We discover these parts of ourselves within each other. And where is this? Okay. This is what I want to share. I underlined this one line that the author wrote. "I hope in sharing her voice in this book, you will hear the voice of your own soul, which might feel lofty and intimidating, I know, but it's just this clear, calm, unassuming voice of love inside you. And I think that the person you choose to be with should make you feel that way. They should make you feel calm and relaxed and at peace and present, and help you feel softer but stronger than you've ever felt. So that's it. But good night, everyone. I don't even know what time it is at this point. This is so much longer than I meant for it to be, but I finally explored the topics I wanted to talk about, and I feel good. I feel like blissful because I feel like I've connected to myself in the way that I've been looking to find it. And it's ironic that this was starting off as me discovering, it was like this like revelation with my OCD rumination recently, and now I feel like I can actually like close that loop. It doesn't even make sense, but it does, because we are more than our thoughts. And as someone with OCD, we have to remind ourselves that you might not feel like you have control over your thoughts, but you can reframe it and you can treat it like a garden. And a lot of those like flowery, you know, the language and the terminology and those quotes and stuff, like the live, laugh, love quotes, they're all true. They are. I hate to say it, but it's true. And we have made them all sound so cheesy because we're afraid of feeling those things and realizing that life is actually so easy when you let it be. So, good night, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to listen.